we're talking about weight loss. And in this presentation, I'm calling weight loss the final frontier. Why is weight loss the final frontier? Because there's so many things that we are discovering now about obesity. At one point, obesity or adipocytes, meaning fat cells, were thought to be in the body. But now we know that they're actually active. They cause the release of certain cytokines and different inflammatory molecules. And they cause, hormone imbalance, etc. So weight loss is more than just to look good. I believe in love at any size, loving yourself regardless of what size you are. I'm hoping that in this presentation on weight loss, the final frontier, as more and more is discovered about weight loss, that I'll be able to give you some information, tools, and techniques that you haven't seen before. So let's get started. Weight loss, the final frontier. The objective is to make lifelong changes for lifelong weight loss. And I often use a plant-based meal plan with my patients. And I encourage them to enjoy losing weight. I myself tried several different diets as I tried to lose weight, and I was losing about 50 to 60 pounds. And I found during that process that I just did not enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it. I was doing these short-term diets trying to just hit that number on the scale, but I didn't enjoy it. So what that meant was I was doing something for a short period of time, trying to get a long-term gain, when in fact, as soon as that diet was over, I went back to the way that I was eating before. And as some of you may know, or most of you may know, that's just the beginning of a yo-yo dieting cycle, because you go back up to that weight and then you try something else for a short period of time. You kind of, grin and bear it for a while. You hit the weight that you want, or you get close to it, and then you go back to what you were doing before. So this slide says lifelong changes for lifelong weight loss. And so I'm encouraging lifestyle changes that you keep for life, and therefore your weight loss is for life. But the top of the slide says losing weight and enjoying it. So important to enjoy the process, because when you enjoy something, you keep on doing it. So it's my question with you this morning. One of the important things for weight loss is walking or exercise, but finding something that you feel that you can do every day. A lot of people who have dogs, they've found in studies that people who have dogs tend to have a less incidence of obesity or have cardiovascular health that's a little bit better, because they have to go out and walk their dogs every day. So if you have a dog, I'd encourage you not to just let that dog out, but take the dog for a walk, because you're also taking yourself for a walk. Why is weight loss important right now? Well, here we are at this point after having experienced something where a lot of us were home with the refrigerator. And some people were dating the refrigerator for the last 2 years. So I don't know if you've seen this slide. This is called Quarantine Barbie. This was Barbie at the beginning of the quarantine. This is Barbie post-quarantine, where we are now, and she gained weight. And a lot of people have gained weight over the last 2 years, where they felt a lot of stress and anxiety, and maybe they've just been at home and eating foods that they don't normally eat, or working from home, so the fridge is right there. They're doing more snacking. So I've found in my practice that when I ask people about their original weight, they'll say, well, I weighed this much, and then during the pandemic, I gained this much, and so that's where we are. So this is an important topic right now. As I said, the best place to start with is love. Love at any size. So let's start with self-love and making it easy on ourselves. Meaning, if you're starting a plan, and I do offer a plan called the Plummer Protocol, and if you were starting that plan with me, I would encourage you to practice loving yourself regardless of your size, even if you don't look the way that you picture yourself to look. Just begin with love and making it easy on yourself. If you go out to a family gathering and maybe you're eating things that you wouldn't necessarily normally eat instead of at the end of the night feeling terrible and feeling like I blew it. This is the way that I used to feel. And of course, then I'd say, I'll start on Monday. And then the next 3 days were basically me revving up to Monday so I'd eat anything, knowing that Monday was coming. Instead, you can just have some compassion with yourself and then get right back on what you were doing. The Bible says we should love God, love our neighbors as ourselves, meaning we love ourselves, we love God, He gives us that love so we can love ourselves, and then that love for your neighbor comes from yourself. So you have to have that love for yourself so you can give it to your neighbor. Love yourself even if you don't look the way you want to. Love yourself while you're on that journey to transformation. And I've actually written a book called Authentic You, A Journey to the Habits Beyond Dieting, which is available on Amazon by Dr. Nadine, ND. I called it A Journey to the Habits Beyond Dieting because habits can last a lifetime. Diets last a short period of time. They do work temporarily, but you go back to what you were doing before. But when you learn a habit that is beyond dieting, then you can continue with that habit for life. And that leads to lifelong changes. And that's why I called it Authentic You, a journey to the habits beyond dieting. And some people feel like when they are trying to lose weight, this just isn't me. I don't look the way that I want to look. I don't feel the way that I want to feel. But it's a journey to really expressing your authentic self. So you might ask this, how can I lose weight and keep it off? Well, the point of this presentation is to help you to learn the tools and techniques. So how can you lose weight and keep it off? I'm going to tell you in just a moment. I want you to take a moment and just ask yourself, what do you think the answer is? How can you lose weight and keep it off for life? What's the answer? I would say there's a threefold approach. The first step to that threefold approach is the psychological and emotional aspect of weight loss. Why did you gain the weight in the first place? Are you an emotional eater? Are you a stress eater? What is your relationship with food? That's the first step. Just asking those questions and coming up with some answers for yourself. And some of those answers might be quite deep. When did your relationship with food change? It may have changed when you were 12 years old. Second step, remove the blockages that are stopping you from losing weight. Some of those blockages might just be what's in your pantry. And you're basing like your weight loss journey on willpower. And there are things in your pantry that every time you see them, you're thinking of them, they pull you in, they're in your mind. You think, okay, tomorrow morning I'm having that, and you can't wait till tomorrow morning. So remove the blockages. Get rid of those tempting foods. Clear your house out so you're making it easier on yourself. And then the third thing is tools and techniques. Tools and techniques. And we'll be talking about tools and techniques today. But the first two are based on your own situation. The first one's very personal. The second one is based on your own blockages. What are things that make it difficult for you? Finding strategies that work for you. And the third one, tools and techniques that we'll be working with right now. But I would say that the answer, especially for those last two things, removing the blockages and tools and techniques, the secret would be, in both of those things, the secret would be this. The secret is consistency. Consistency. You can learn the right tools and techniques, but really, it took you a while probably to gain that weight. So to expect it to all go in about, 5 days to 10 days would be unrealistic. People can lose a lot of weight in 10 days, but you have to continue on. You want to learn those habits consistently over a longer duration of time. And that's the secret to success. So you think and you paint out your own steps to make it easy. How do you make it easy on yourself? As I said, this is like removing the blockages. Avoid blocks. For example, remove all the tempting foods from your house, or put your gym clothes in your car. This is what made it easier for me to go to the gym, because I used to go to work and then go home, change at home, have something to eat, and because maybe it was a stressful day, this was when I was working like 9 to 5 or 8 to 4, more 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 6. Stressful day, I'd come home, I'm gonna watch a little bit of TV, and then I think, you know what? It's windy out, it's cold out, sometimes it was snowing out, I was in Ottawa at the time. I think, you know what? I'm just too tired, it's getting late, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow. And as you can imagine, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, dripped in that petty pace, and tomorrow never actually came. So I wanted to be more successful and more consistent with going to the gym. And I thought, I'm gonna cut out the block. What was stopping it? It was that stop at home. So I would eat at work or take what I needed with me. And my gym clothes were in the car, and I promised myself I'm going straight from work to the gym, no matter what. And I'd go from work to the gym, and then I just had to go in the gym. I already had my clothes with me, and that made it so much easier, and that made it possible for me to be consistent. At one point, actually before that, I wanted to start working out early in the morning. And just waking up at that time was tough. But then I'd wake up and change my clothes, and I found that there wasn't enough time, so I started sleeping in my gym clothes. I'd sleep in my gym clothes and literally roll out of bed and just get in the car and drive there. And that made it easier on myself. I'm not telling everybody, sleep in your gym clothes, but what I am saying is find that little thing that, okay, you're trying something, but you're not succeeding. What is the thing that's stopping it from flowing really well? And remove that thing. That's what I mean by remove the blocks. And for me, it was those little things like stopping at home to just relax before going to the gym, or waking up in the morning and then rushing to get the gym clothes, etc. And so whatever that is for you, having the food in the house that I was trying to avoid, whatever it is for you, figure it out. Just think about the little things that stop you from getting to the gym or eating the way that you want to. Remove those things so you're making it easier for yourself. And as I've said, one of the things that makes it really tough is just what we see and what we smell. So avoid seeing those things. Remove temptation from your sight. This is key. When you are seeing those things, and sometimes it's tough when you have a family and your family is not on that journey with you and they're eating all of these snacks, etc. But at least for you, as much as possible, remove those temptations from your sight. Maybe you have a specific area in the pantry and their things are in that area in the pantry, in storage bins that are not opaque. They know where their stuff is, but you don't have to see it when you open the pantry. Maybe, but it'd be better if it's just out of your house. The interesting thing is we're finding, and I'm sure you've experienced this, that when your mood goes down, and this was common for me, I hadn't really asked myself, am I an emotional eater? But I was, for sure, when I was struggling with weight. As my mood went down, then what I found was that my food intake, and I don't mean healthy salads and healthy vegan eating, I mean things like Chinese food at 1 o'clock in the morning or pizza at midnight. My food intake went up. So comforting foods go up. Why? Because we tend to be emotional eaters or stress eaters, or we may have triggers that then cause you to eat more. So stress is one of those triggers. We have to find ways of managing and addressing stress, because one of the ways that we do end up managing and addressing stress is by doing this and eating. Okay, not to this extent, obviously this is a bit of a joke, but we end up managing stress through comfort food instead of using different tools and techniques that are healthier for us. So this was one of the things that I did. I was stress eating, but I didn't know it. The other thing about stress is stress makes it difficult to sleep. So a lack of sleep then actually can lead to eating more of those comfort foods. So the stress is causing you to eat the comfort foods. Poor sleep is causing you to eat the comfort foods, and stress is creating poor sleep. It is a recipe for disaster when it comes to weight loss. Poor sleep can decrease your self-control, your decision-making abilities, and then you're back to this. And it can increase your brain's reaction to food, meaning suddenly your brain just secretes a lot of dopamine and it seems like incredibly tasty, and you're craving it in a way that you weren't before when you had good sleep and you weren't stressed. Poor sleep has been linked to an increased intake of foods high in calories, high in fats, and high in carbs. The interesting thing is they did a study on sleep and the timing of sleep and then calorie intake. They were trying to find out, okay, how many hours of sleep actually leads to eating more or an increased calorie intake. Poor sleep plus stress equals a greater food intake and a lower kind of food metabolism, if you want to say it that way. We're not burning the food as efficiently when we're stressed. One study allowed 16 adults just 5 hours of sleep per night. 5 hours. And it was only for 5 nights. They gained an average of 1.8 pounds, so nearly 2 pounds over the course of 5 nights. 2 pounds, 5 nights. And that was 5 hours of sleep. So what they've found with studies is 5 hours or less. 5 hours tends to be the amount of time that makes it difficult to lose weight or leads to weight gain. But 7 hours or more is what makes it easier, let's say, for weight loss. So 5 hours or less equals usually to weight gain or difficulty with weight loss. 7 hours or more, 7 to 9 hours, makes it easier for weight loss. I think we're all tempted at different times to eat our stress away. Excess calories eaten during times of stress, hence eaten during times of high cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone that's secreted when we are stressed, tends to be deposited in that area right there around the abdominal area of the body. Permanent weight loss comes from permanent change. So what types of changes? Addressing stress and getting more sleep. And those are habits beyond dieting, habits that you can continue to have for years and years and years to come. Finding out, how can I manage my stress better? How can I get better sleep? And just those two things, stress and sleep, will help you as you make these nutritional changes as well. But there's a factor that I'd mentioned near the beginning, and that's the psychology of weight loss. Why are you eating the way that you're eating? When did you start eating that way? What's your relationship to food? And also this, what do you think about weight? Makes a huge difference. For example, if you're thinking something like this, you're just starting something new. You've decided, I want to make lifestyle changes, but psychologically your belief is this: I've tried it all and nothing works for me. Yes, I'm going to give this a try, but you know what? I don't think it's going to work. Well, it's very possible that just that thought alone could have something similar to the nocebo effect. We've all heard of the placebo effect, which is a good effect originally based on getting a medication that wasn't real, like a medication that's actually a sugar pill, but you're told it will work, and it does, even though it doesn't include any of the pharmaceutical components in the actual medication. It's just a sugar pill. Well, there's something similar to that, a nocebo effect. So in studies, the nocebo effect is they tell you with that sugar pill that the side effects, the negative side effects are A, B, C, and D, and a certain number of people will have those negative side effects even though they didn't even receive the drug. That is the power of the mind. So when I'm talking about the psychology of weight loss, I'm also talking about your attitude towards these lifestyle changes that you're making. Much better to go in, if you can, thinking, I believe this will work. And you could have tried everything. There's always more to try. But if you're thinking, and if you're trying the right things and doing them the right ways, or maybe using some of these tools, things that fit with you, then success is possible. So instead of going in thinking, I've tried it all, nothing works for me, then having that attitude, I'm willing to try, and I think this will work for me. I believe that I can make changes in my life. I can reach those goals. I can make lifestyle changes, and I know my body will respond. Your body will respond, and your body will come into alignment with what you are thinking, because your brain is the one that causes a release of those different hormones that can help you with weight loss. So the question that I always ask, and this is what I had mentioned earlier with the psychology and the emotions behind weight loss, what is food to you? What is your relationship with food? Maybe you might think food to me is bonding, so I really enjoy eating with my family or my friends, but sometimes we bond over food and it's not the right foods, or because you're in a social gathering and it's late at night, you might want to bond with those people, so you're eating, but usually you don't eat at night. So obviously, in that case, food is beyond nutrition. Or food to you might be the fountain of youth. You're eating for longevity. And so food is both nutrition and a vehicle to longevity. So you'd ask yourself, what is food to you? Food might be a reward. You grew up getting a treat whenever you were good, and now you treat yourself. So ask yourself, what is food to you? What is your relationship with food? And that might be a key point, changing that relationship. Okay, now I'm changing my perspective and my look on what does food mean to me. Food is nutrition. Food is the way that I'm going to keep this body going. Food is the way that I worship, maybe, that I show that my body is a vessel and it's a rental. And this is part of my stewardship in taking care of my body. What is food to you? How can you change it so that it's a more positive relationship? Doing the least amount of effort doesn't pay off. So when we're making lifestyle changes, you have to put the effort in, as I said, consistently. For a while, I was like this, not quite Homer Simpson, but I was trying the least amount of effort. Maybe the 10-day cabbage and tomato soup diet. It was a lot of effort, but only for 10 days. And I expected to lose, at that time I had 45, 55, nearly 60 pounds to lose, and I was hoping that everything would just go if I just put that little bit of effort in 10 days. So it doesn't work that way. It's consistency over time. Consistency, doing the right things, including the psychology of weight loss, the emotional aspect of weight loss, managing stress, managing sleep, and then the right nutrition over time, making lifestyle changes, and of course, removing those blockages. According to psychology, there's a question that you have to ask yourself, and I've mentioned this, the question that kind of reveals many things for you. Whoops, that next slide came quickly, but the question is this: why? As I said, why? Why do I eat the way that I eat? Or why did I start eating the way that I'm eating? Or why am I overeating? Or why am I choosing these comfort foods? And then you might get down, okay, that peels a layer. It's because I'm stressed. Okay, that peels a layer. What am I stressed about? Peels another layer. I'm stressed about, it might be relational, it might be your job, peels a layer. What is it about that relationship that stresses me? Okay, now why is that there? You know what I mean? So you're peeling the layers, I wouldn't say of an onion because that seems like a lot of layers, but you're getting down to that root reason as to why you're choosing the foods you're choosing and why you're eating the way you're eating, and even why you're eating when you are eating. So we're going to switch to a few techniques now. Calorie counting, this is what I was trying to do to lose weight, and it didn't work. It's also arduous and tedious and hard to keep up. So I would say, at least what I've found, is it's not about counting calories. It's not about counting calories, but you can use calories to help you, but you're not counting calories. Instead, you're going to use something called calorie density. So you might say this, but aren't all calories the same? A calorie is just an energetic measurement. So are all calories the same? Well, a calorie as a measurement is the same regardless of whether it's from carrots or Coca-Cola, but your body is going to respond differently, and the amount of space that food takes in your stomach is going to vary, and then the way the stomach responds to the amount of space changes as well. Okay, I'll explain what I'm saying. Calories from carrots, calories from Coke, they must be the same thing, right? I remember hearing that a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. In other words, all calories are the same, aren't they? Well, the first losing weight and keeping it off principle is this. You want to work with calorie density. Calorie density instead of calorie counting. So you're not counting all of the calories in your food. You're working with the density of the calories that you're taking in. Calorie density, what does it mean? Well, with calorie density, you eat until you're full, and yet you lose weight. Doesn't that sound great? Okay, I'll give you an illustration. For example, if you were to have 250 calories or drink 250 calories worth of Coca-Cola, 250 calories worth of Coca-Cola, you'd probably take that amount of Coca-Cola, finish it, it's gone like that. And you still are hungry, and you're going to eat more calories after that. The Coca-Cola won't fill you up. It won't take up a lot of space in your stomach. You might say, you know what, I'm beyond Coke, I drink Mountain Dew. That's better. So whether it's Coca-Cola or Mountain Dew, it's high in calories and does not take a lot of space in your stomach. So high in calorie density. Now let's say you chose to eat 250 calories worth of carrots. It's going to take you a lot longer to finish the carrots, and the carrots are going to take up more space. They're very bulky, more space in your stomach, so you're not going to continue eating as much as you would with Coca-Cola. That's the idea of calorie density. You want to eat foods that are low in calorie, but they're very bulky, high in bulk, versus food like Coca-Cola. So carrots are low in calories, but high in bulk. Coca-Cola is high in calories, but low in bulk. It doesn't take up a lot of room in the stomach, but carrots would. So hopefully you're saying this. I think I'm onto something here. I can drink 250 calories of Coke in an instant, but it would definitely take me longer to eat 250 calories of something else, like pickles or carrots. This is called calorie density. The stretch receptors in my stomach would be activated. I'll tell you what stretch receptors are in a moment. We could take a look at this slide, and that kind of gives you a better idea what 500 calories looks like, and this is from a movie called Forks Over Knives. 500 calories of oil does not take up a lot of space in the stomach. You're still going to be hungry. You're going to get a little bit of satisfaction because of the fat, but you're still going to be hungry and you would eat more. 500 calories worth of cheese, still not full, and you're going to take in more calories. 500 calories worth of meat does not fill up the stomach. Your stomach's like a balloon. So here the balloons may be half full, a third full. You're still going to take in more calories. 500 calories of potatoes, rice, and beans. Okay, you're getting there now. Your stomach, like that balloon, the balloon is nearly full. 500 calories of fruits and veggies. And imagine if you drizzled a little bit of oil on there for satisfaction, a little bit of satiation. Now your stomach would be full. And when your stomach is full, then it stretches a little bit. When it stretches, there are stretch receptors on the stomach, and they get activated. They send a signal up to the brain saying, this person's stomach is stretching. This way we don't eat until their stomach just goes like a balloon bursting. And then your brain responds by causing the release of a hormone that's like the fullness hormone. It's called leptin, and then you feel full. So if you were eating those 250 calories worth of carrots, it might take you 2 hours. If you're a fast chewer, you want to chew and chew and chew and chew until it's like liquid in your mouth. So 2 hours is a stretch, but it might take you a long time to eat that many carrots. It's 5.5 cups worth of carrots and 250 calories versus that little quick sip of Coca-Cola. You're still chewing, still chewing. The stretch receptors in your stomach wall would tell you when we've had enough. You're chewing, 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 chewing. Your stomach's getting full, and then it starts stretching. And when your stomach stretches, then it sends that message to your brain. So if you were to eat, let's say, as we just saw, 250 calories of oil, no stretch receptor, no stretching's happening, no signal to the brain. But if you ate the same amount worth of fruits and veggies, and your stomach is full, your stomach would stretch a little bit. A message goes to the brain. The brain says, hey, this person's stomach is stretching. I need to send something to stop them from eating so their stomach doesn't blow up like a balloon bursting. So leptin is secreted, you feel full. This entire process takes about 20 minutes. So that's why it's important to eat slowly and chew your food, and also not allow yourself to become ravenous. We usually become ravenous if we've gone through a longer period of time, maybe 5 hours without eating. Then when we sit down to eat, you're ready to eat anything super fast. So go for 4.5 hours or so, 5 hours tops between meals, no snacking in between. You'll find that really helps with weight loss, and then you're not ravenous and you can make better decisions as well. How much food can the average stomach fit? On average, a stomach could fit about 4 cups worth of food. So as I said, you want to eat slower so you can feel full faster. Sounds funny, but you're eating slower, and within 20 minutes, you'll feel full. Has anyone here ever eaten really quickly, like maybe at Christmas or maybe at Thanksgiving, and you've eaten a lot of food really quickly, and then suddenly it's like, boom. You weren't feeling full, and it's not like that slow, oh, I'm feeling a little bit full. It's more like you eat and eat and eat, and then bang, oh, I'm full. I can't eat another bite. That's because the leptin is now coursing through your blood, and that hormone is working. You've gone past that 20 to 25 minute period of time. It's amazing because when you eat slowly, you get to taste the food more. But the other thing is that our willpower can actually override our chemistry. What do I mean? I mean that we may have had leptin being sent out, but we decided, you know what, even though I'm feeling a little bit full, I'm going to keep eating. So you can override the chemistry. You can override that signal that your body is sending to say, I'm full. And eventually, this is what they found in obesity studies, that we become leptin insensitive, kind of like insulin insensitivity. They found very high levels of leptin in people who are obese, meaning your brain's trying to make you stop eating, but you're choosing on your own to not listen to that signal and to continue eating anyway. So part of it is your own choice, and part of it is your body's chemistry. So we do play a role in our own decisions and our own volition. So part of it is your own psychological buy-in, and then part of it is just using the right tools and techniques. I hope that makes sense. So basic weight loss principle is this. You can fit in more calories than cups, so turn it around, eat more cups than calories of the right foods. What do I mean? I mean, you could eat 2 cups of a processed food, 2 cups of, let's say, strawberry ice cream. That's 2,000 calories. But if you're always going with this principle, this rule of eating it, the whole food in its original form, then you get lots more cups. 2,000 calories of strawberry ice cream, 2 cups. 2,000 calories of strawberries, I don't know, this is like 20 or 30 cups, you wouldn't be able to finish it. So choose the food in its original form. How do you know? Well, you don't have to count calories. You're going for the original plant or fruit form, and it's usually lower in calories. You can ask yourself, how do you know? You could ask yourself, what tree did this fall out of? What bush did it grow out of? Where was it picked from the ground? This means that you would eat potatoes, not potato chips. You would then eat corn, not corn chips. You're eating that food in its original form. Calorie density, bottom line. Biochemically, yes, a calorie is a calorie, but eating it in different forms can have different effects. Eating it in one form, you might say, leaves me still hungry. Eating it in another form leaves me full. Eating it in the processed form leaves you hungry. Eating it in its natural plant-based form leaves you full. But I want to give you a chart just in case you are not sure which foods are high in calorie density, which foods are low in calorie density. So the green bar indicates the low in calorie density foods. Greens are very low in calorie density. Non-starchy veggies, low in calorie density. Fruits are low in calorie density. Starchy veggies, low in calorie density. Whole grains, low in calorie density, and legumes, low in calorie density. And you might say, I want to eat a lot of greens and non-starchy veggies because they're low in calorie density, but I don't actually like them. I don't like the taste. You haven't grown accustomed to the taste yet. If that's the case, you can combine. So you look at legumes, maybe something like chickpeas, and you might say, you know what, I really like hummus, or I really like chickpeas. I'm going to add some chickpeas to my greens and non-starchy veggies, and then I know I'm going to love that salad. Or I'm going to add some hummus to my salad, put them together, delicious. And that way you are combining the low in calorie density foods to make something that's delicious for you that you know that you will consistently enjoy. I would encourage you as you go on this journey to go into the grocery store like you're going to a library. Get ready to do some reading. So you want to always read the labels. There's so many different names for sugar now, and they're snuck in the labels at the back. The big label on the front does not tell the truth. That's marketing. And often it will say 100% something, but it doesn't mention all of the other ingredients that are in there. Turn it over and read the smaller label at the back. That's where the truth is. So ignore the big label on the front, turn all of your products over and read the smaller label. I'd said it's better to eat foods in their original forms. So you want to get as much plant-based whole foods as possible. So when you go in, don't go straight to the middle aisles. Go to the far right or the far left where all the fruits and vegetables are, where all of the nuts and seeds and maybe some of the dried fruit is. And then if you have to, prepared to read, go into the center aisles and read the labels. As I mentioned, it's important to chew your food. You got them, let's use them. So chew and chew and chew and chew. There's a dopamine explosion happening when you eat slower and you enjoy. So I said this is lifelong changes for life, losing weight and enjoying it. If you're just enduring, you're not getting a lot of dopamine release. And dopamine is secreted from in the brain. It is like the reward and pleasure hormone. It actually helps to ingrain new habits, to drive you to do that behavior again and again and again. A lot of dopamine is secreted when certain drugs are used, but it's basically when you are enjoying something, your brain secretes a lot of dopamine saying, hey, I want this person to do this habit again and again and again. Every time dopamine is secreted, it's going to get easier to do what you're doing. So enjoy what you're doing. Times, as I mentioned, when and how long in between? 4 to 5 hours in between. Snacking or not snacking? No snacking. This is a tool and technique. 4 to 5 hours between meals, no snacking during that time. It's interesting, I've been using a lot of intermittent fasting with my patients. And you might ask, what is intermittent fasting? It's a way of eating where there's a certain number of hours where you're eating. For example, you eat between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. After that, you don't eat again. When I was growing up, this was just called you finish your dinner and then you don't go back in the kitchen. But you could say it's the beginning of your fasting period. You don't eat again until the next morning at 10 o'clock. And if you're doing 4 hours between meals, it would mean you eat breakfast at 10. You eat lunch at 2. That should be your biggest meal, lunch. and then you eat dinner at 6, and after you finish dinner, you don't eat again. Why did I say lunch should be your biggest meal? Because after 7 p.m., they found that eating after 7 causes inflammation levels to rise. And when our bodies are in a highly inflammatory state, we tend to gain weight or hold on to weight. So there are a few things that lead to weight gain and make it difficult to lose weight. One of them is hormones, hormonal imbalances. Another one is high cortisol, and another one's inflammation. So you want to keep those things down. Not eating at night helps to keep inflammation low. No eating after 7 p.m. Even if you're intermittent fasting, change your hours so you're done by 7. Cortisol, address your stress so your cortisol level stays low. In doing these two things, you're making it easier on yourself. There was a study done on intermittent fasting, and they had 2 groups. They were pre-diabetic men over the age of 60, in their 60s, and both groups were doing 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour eating window. Both groups lost weight. But they found the group that started earlier in the day, I think they started at 7, they finished at 3, their blood sugar levels lowered and then regulated. They were no longer pre-diabetic, their cholesterol levels came down, their cardiovascular health improved. This other group, their hours were between 12 p.m. and 8 p.m., I believe, and they noticed that none of those things changed for them. They just lost weight, but they were still pre-diabetic. They had a high cardiovascular risk. I think they may have had high blood pressure as well, if I'm correct. So they were eating into the inflammation window, and so they weren't getting those other cardiovascular benefits. So you want to have everything finished by about 6:30 p.m. So you might start at 10:30, finish by 6:30. I'm going to end with this slide. And this slide is nothing that I created. This slide was from a study that was done on intermittent fasting. And I feel like this slide just sums everything up. The group that lost weight and had, this is a different study, not the pre-diabetes study. The group that lost weight and they also had better health outcomes. They only ate 2 to 3 meals per day. They ate breakfast. Their last meal was between 3 and 4. So that might be a little bit early for you, but as I said, you want to make that last meal a little bit earlier. Absolutely finished eating by 6:30 p.m. They did not eat late night meals. They increased the protein content in their food, and they had a fasting window of at least 16 hours. Sometimes it was a little tighter fasting window, 12 hours of fasting. So 12 hours of fasting, that would mean 12 hours of eating. So 12 hours of fasting, sorry, the other way. They had 12 hours of fasting minimum, 16 hours of fasting maximum. So it was 16 and 8 or 12 and 12. But even if it was 12 and 12, they're still only eating 2 to 3 meals per day. What happened? Their insulin sensitivity increased. Even though they were only eating 2 meals or 3 meals a day, they weren't hungry, and their inflammation levels went down. They optimized autophagy, meaning that their body was eating itself, eating up waste and eating fat, and they improved their circadian rhythm, which is like their sleep-wake cycle. They are feeling more energetic during the day, they're sleeping better at night. The other group, they kind of did the snacking method, 6 meals or more per day. They didn't eat breakfast. This is common. I found with myself, when I was overweight, I never wanted to eat breakfast because I was eating at 2 o'clock in the morning. So when I woke up in the morning, I did not feel like eating. Their last meal was late at night. Obviously, when they're sleeping, they're not eating, so it must have been at least maybe 6 hours on average, 6 to 8 hours. What did they find? Insulin sensitivity decreased. So they're at a higher risk for type 2 diabetes. Total cholesterol, so the good cholesterol goes down, the bad cholesterol goes up. Even though they're eating more, they're hungry, and their inflammation level goes up. And what did that mean overall for general health? Circadian rhythm disruption, meaning they're not sleeping earlier and they're not sleeping well. Then during the day, they're not feeling alert when they're awake. And finally, microbiota negative changes. So when you have a poor ratio of good bacteria to bad bacteria, that sometimes leads to chronic disease and chronic illness. I just want to wrap up with this one final idea. And I said this, that sight and smell make it tough on yourself. So I want to end with this idea of how to make it easier on yourself, with the idea of removing the foods that are tempting for you, but also removing the foods that are tempting in terms of the smell. So when we smell things that we like, a hormone secreted in our brain that's called ghrelin. It's a hormone that's responsible for triggering and signaling hunger to the brain. Well, just from smelling it, your brain secretes a hunger hormone called ghrelin or ghrelin, and it stimulates your appetite, and that ends up increasing your food intake. It can also be secreted based on smell, so do not just go in there to smell for pleasure. We remember smells in our brain, and then we desire what we remember. Use ghrelin to your benefit. Did you know just smelling grapefruits affects you? It affects fat metabolism and appetite. So smelling grapefruits instead could help with fat loss. Smelling grapefruits enhances lipolysis. It will reduce your wonderful journey beyond dieting, and I pray that this presentation was helpful to you. God bless.